All right, breaking news coming in. Now, the Supreme Court is going to pronounce its judgment on Section 377 tomorrow. That judgment is going to come from the Supreme Court tomorrow. Meenakshi Bhanja on the phone line with us. Meenakshi, this is obviously going to be a big landmark hearing, going to be looked at not only very closely, not only in India, but across the world.
Absolutely, Avni, big breaking news, and all eyes of the world on India. This is going to be an epic landmark ruling from the top court tomorrow, as it looks all set to read down Section 377 in its present form. Our viewers will recall this case has been argued extensively before the Constitution bench of the top court in the backdrop of the privacy judgment. This is one of the rarest of rare instances where the Supreme Court is judging its own judgment. And why it is doing so, Avni, is because we have had the privacy judgment happen in the interim, and in the backdrop of that privacy judgment, the earlier Supreme Court's two-bench ruling on 377 has become untenable, and therefore we have seen interesting developments in the court when the matter was being argued. The government of India's position, although has not come as a piece of good news to many, yet one will have to acknowledge that the government also went out of its way to remove all legal impediments, all legal obstacles from the path of the Supreme Court to read down Section 377. So all obstacles, all legal remedies now have been utilized, and this is the time of reckoning, and all eyes on Supreme Court as it looks very, very eminently set at this juncture to read down Section 377 and have a revisit, have a relook, have a reconsideration of its own earlier judgment, given the fact that the 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court has now held right to privacy to be a fundamental right, in whose backdrop the earlier two-bench ruling of the Supreme Court on 377, Avni, has become untenable.
Absolutely, Meenakshi. And like you pointed out, the fact that the Supreme Court reviewing its own judgment, one of the very rare times perhaps something like that really happens, that makes it all the more as a landmark judgment.
Well, absolutely. Avni, this is one of the rarest of rare occasions because traditionally the Supreme Court does not judge its own judgment. And the Supreme Court has shown a great amount of understanding, empathy in the course of the hearing when the matter was being debated in the Supreme Court Constitution bench, the 5 judges Constitution bench, which has gone on to examine the earlier judgment of the Supreme Court, which was a lesser bench composition judgment. It was a 2-judge bench judgment, which had gone ahead and set aside the earlier 2007 Delhi High Court ruling, which had watered down 377. It had read down 377, decriminalized it to the extent that adult consensual sex between same sex was also no longer considered to be a criminal act. That judgment was an epic judgment coming from the Honorable Delhi High Court way back in 2007. That judgment was set aside by the 2 judges ruling of the Supreme Court, subsequent to which we've had some very, very interesting developments. The right to privacy judgment came by, which made this earlier ruling of the 2 judges completely untenable. And now, upon re-examination by the 5 judges bench of the Supreme Court, which is a Constitution bench, the Supreme Court had gone ahead and reserved its orders on this aspect of reading down Section 377. And that is what we are looking at tomorrow. It is going to be a path-breaking, landmark, epic judgment, which will go on to redefine a lot of things insofar as adult consensual gay sex in India is concerned.
All right. Thanks, Meenakshi, for getting us those details. Of course, we'll be tracking this extremely closely on Mirror Now.